Business Administration. I subsequently attended the University of Houston in Houston, Texas, where I obtained a Bachelor of Science in Accounting and Master's in Business Administration, with a concentration in finance and management information systems. I worked for 2 years in the government, and 2 years in the corporate world, after which I launched my private practice in taxation and accounting, finance, and real estate brokerage. I am an entrepreneur and business owner, a father, and a man of faith. He is our own SDA brother, Robin Hardy. When people make it big like that, you usually cannot get them to attend to the small details, right? So we were staying at one of his apartments in Guyana. So if you traveling to Guyana, please, that's a very good place to stay at. This man was there on vacation, I believe, and he did not have to be bothered with it as he had someone managing the place. But with every little thing that we had, every little concern or whatever, he would personally come and make sure that it was made okay, that was solved, and we really appreciate it. And that's one of the times that we actually got into talking a bit. Hence the reason I was like, hey, I have to invite this man to the same ministry so he gets us with his. So I am not sure my cannot see who is there and who is not. I hope you can still hear me. But I want to invite Brother Hardy and thank him personally for blessing us today. Brother Hardy, you can come on now.
Hello, everyone.
Good night. Welcome.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
I am making sure that I get this stuff where I can be seen properly on this screen.
That's okay. Take your time.
Okay. So good night, everyone. My task is to do a presentation on, first it says kingdom financing. And then I noticed that the flyer was packed with information that each one of those could be a topic by itself and a whole discussion by itself. I see how to build wealth, the kingdom way, financing habits that attract stability and peace, stewardship principles that transform for a single season, and how integrity unlocks divine increase. And each one of those are a one-day seminar or a one-day topic, but I'll try to put everything together in one. Now, my first statement here has to do with knowing the difference between riches and wealth. And I would like for it to be more interactive in this session. But do we actually know the difference between riches and wealth? Well, I have a spreadsheet that gives us the difference between the riches and wealth. Riches typically refer to the high income, a lavish lifestyle with visible assets, and you see this type of flaunting of stuff with riches. Wealth, on the other hand, means a high net worth, accumulation of assets, and investments that prolong long-term financial security. And then when you break them down together, you will see what is the focus for riches? High income, possessions, and lifestyle. What is the focus for wealth? Long-term financial security, assets, and investment. What is the source? Most of the time, the source of riches comes from our active daily work. You might have a basketball who is actively working, a basketball player who is actively working and receiving contract income, and that is riches. Whereas someone who is wealthy, it will come from assets, investments like real estate and other assets that bring long-term passive income. And there's a whole lot of other list of things that give you the difference between riches and wealth. So when the Bible speaks of wealth, we have to focus it more on these characteristics and not think of the flaunting, the cars and the lifestyle of the rich and famous. We have to think in terms of this other long-term security. So when we think of those long-term securities, then we can now focus on what did the Bible say about wealth. The Deuteronomies 8:18 said, the power to get wealth will be given to you. And this is just paraphrasing Deuteronomy. It is I who give you the power to retain wealth. So this concept of wealth building comes directly from the Bible, because God is the one who gives us the power to gain wealth. Now, on a practical level, not all of us can just go out and get wealthy. But most of the time, we hamstring ourselves. We prevent ourselves from being able to obtain wealth by focusing on safe type of work activities. We want to work for maybe a government institution. We want to work for a hospital. We want to work for anybody who is going to give us that safe daily or weekly income, because it is not as risky as wealth building. So why do we take that approach? Sometimes it is because we don't see ourselves as being able to withstand the risk of going out and starting a business, going out and investing in large scale assets. We don't see it because of environments which we grew up in. Have you ever wondered why people from the Jewish faith are mostly wealthy? And I'm not going to say rich, because they are mostly wealthy. The reason they are is because they are of the perception that they are a blessed people, and everything that they touch is blessed. So as a result, they get themselves involved in high risk investments because they don't see any possibility of failure. And you have to go back with the financial concept of the more risk is the higher returns, the lower risk is the lower returns. And we can see that in our, just a regular banking institution. You take your money and you put it on the bank and you put it in a savings account and you may get 1% or 0.5%. That's probably one of the lowest risk activity for investment. You move up from that and you put it onto long-term CDs where you lock it up for a period of time because you know that you will not need it. So that now becomes a little bit more riskier than just on the savings account, and that will get more of an income. Then you move up to stocks, more risky. You move up to cryptocurrency, more risky. And in those risk levels, you have the possibility of either earning a whole lot more, but what the risk is called is it will cause you also to be in a position where you can lose it all. Now, anytime someone is faced with that potential, if they are seeing themselves as blessed, that everything they touch will become, will turn to gold, let's put it that way, they will take the risk. We as Christians also see ourselves as a part of Abraham's seed, like the Jews. So we should be thinking of ourselves as heads and not tails. And so everything we touch should turn to gold. But in most cases, we give lip service to the idea, but we don't really put it into practice. We say, I'm of Abraham's seed, and so I should be wealthy. I should be blessed in everything I do, but I am not going to take this risk. And that is how we sometimes sell ourselves short. The other thing about Abraham's seed is that we are supposed to be lenders and not borrowers. So therefore, we are supposed to be living debt-free. And you may say, well, how can we live debt-free? We have to buy cars, we have to buy houses, we have to buy these things. How can we live debt-free? You can get to the point of living debt-free if you apply the same concept of wealth building. Wealth building will result in enough assets to where you would not have to borrow to buy cars. I remember when I was just getting started, my first car was purchased cash. And everyone else was buying cars that they have to make notes on. And so what I did was I said, you know what, if this car was a car that I would have had to pay some notes on, what would have been the notes? Okay, so I determined at that point, well, the notes would have been $400 a month. So I started what I call my own personal car fund. We know a car doesn't last for a lifetime, so you'll always have to replace it. So every month, instead of paying a bank for a car, I paid myself for a car into that car fund. Every month, just like if I was paying a bank, I was making a payment to my car fund. When the current car that I had became obsolete, in the sense that it was just not workable anymore, I went to my car fund and I said, let me see how much is in that car fund. I'm going to now go and buy a new car cash. I took that new car, I took that money, I bought that new car cash, and I continued to put into the car fund because one day that car will become obsolete. And that was the process that I went through always when it comes to buying anything that is depreciable, cars, any type of assets that will be depreciable, it must be purchased cash. The only item that was purchased on credit was my first primary residence. And I made every effort to make sure that that one was paid off very quickly by doubling the payments. And there's ways that we can talk about how you can accelerate the paying off of your home in half the time that it was supposed to be paid by making twice a month payment. And that's a whole different seminar by itself. Anyway, let's go back to the whole process of being debt free. And some of this may not be relevant to different places in the world, but debt and credit is a very important thing for Christians. Just like we should be debt free, the same way we should be not of a credit risk, which means that a Christian should not have bad debts. So if you're living in a part of the world where you have what they call credit reports and you got credit scores, a Christian should have the top credit score. Your credit score should be in the 800s and above. For those people who will know what that is, you should have the top credit score. Why? Because you will always never default on your debt obligations. A Christian, when they give their word, should always keep your word, right? Because the Bible says, let your nay be nay, and your yea be yea, or your yes be yes, and your no's be no. So if I say, yes, I'm going to do something, then I'm going to do it. Even if it's my yes is on signing on a document in a bank, that is still a promise. And I should still keep that promise to the bank, to any creditor. Now, when you live with that mentality, it is easier for you to build wealth. I know in North America, even getting to essential things like insurance. So everyone has to have car insurance. If you have a good credit rating, it doesn't even matter how risky you drive or the type of car you have. If you have a good credit rating, your rate of insurance will be lower than the person with a low credit rating. And some people, well, what does that have to do with insurance? Why should my credit affect my insurance? Everything has to do with integrity when it comes to financing. So the insurance rate will be lower. So let's put it this way: if you're paying $500 a month for car insurance, which is high, but I'm just putting it wrong numbers. If you're paying $500 in car insurance, and if your credit was good, you would have paid $300 in car insurance. You now have a monthly savings of $200 a month that can be placed in a savings account. That is another way of building and increasing your assets. So therefore, you have to make sure you maintain a good credit rating as a part of wealth building. This is also a singles ministry. When people want to merge their lives together, if a person has a bad credit rating, merging with a person with a good credit rating, that person will bring down the credit rating of the person they're merging with. So when you're saying, oh, I'm preparing, and one of the topics there, it was preparing for the new phase in the single ministry. You're preparing yourself for marriage or for a partner. If you're preparing, you should be preparing in the sense that I want to clean my credit up, because if I am merging with someone who has a good credit score, they would not want to merge with me to bring my credit down. Also, it would affect both of us financially. So I am taking steps as I wait to prepare myself for that partner by cleaning up my credit as I wait. That's one other aspect of waiting. I gotta refer back to my notes. So the story of Luke 19:12 through 13 is the story that God is giving us about the assets that he is entrusting to us and how we manage those assets. We should not have any problem with building wealth, because we are all given talents, and every talent that we're given is a talent that can work towards wealth building. Whenever I give these seminars, I always like to relate it to myself and give some examples. So I went to CUC, and at CUC, I met other students who did the exact same course. And then I left there and I went to University of Houston, and I met some other people in my class who did the exact same course in accounting. And so we developed the same talent. And by the way, some talents are gifted and some talents are developed. Not every talent has to be miraculously given to us, like in the desert when Moses was coming through from Egypt to the promised land. Some people were gifted miraculously with the talent of being able to form silver and gold into various ornaments for the temple. And that talent later became something that was used all the way through to Solomon's temple. But those were gifted talents. Some talents can be developed through study and application. And when they are developed through that way, they are still talents given to us by God. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So we were both given the same talents. Some of my friends decided to play it extremely safe, and went to work for the corporate world, and they're still working in the corporate world, waiting to retire. And they have the jobs. And some of them have even reached out to me to borrow money from time to time because their monthly income is not meeting their expenditure. With that same talent, I took it and applied towards a business activity that fits the talent. So my evaluation was, what can I do with an accounting degree in a field that will never go away. And it's like, oh, well, there are two fields that will always be present. Death, which means people always die, and taxes. Taxes is always going to be with us. And so I apply that and use that God-given talent to build wealth. And it could have been any other field, but we have to take it. You could take, if I was given the ability to be a carpenter, for example, I can go and work in a carpenter shop. And speaking of carpentry, we know that the carpentry trade is a self-employed trade. And Christ, when he was on earth, was a self-employed person. We never actually look at it that way, but he was self-employed. The only way for us to become financially independent is to be self-employed. But let's let's not focus on that too much. So you can take anything, any gift, and you can multiply that, just like the 5 loaves and fishes, and you can multiply that to build wealth. You just have to focus on whatever talent you're given, and you could multiply it. But even after earning, you have to build assets that are considered wealth building assets. One of the wealth building assets that I invested in is real estate. And so that is a wealth building asset. There are other wealth building assets that you can invest in. And the reason I say it's wealth building is because it can continue to give you a passive income without you actively having to get to work every day. That is the type of assets that is a wealth building asset. Anything that would give you passive income without you getting up and going to work every day, it's wealth building. We're all familiar with the story of Luke, right? Luke 19, the talents that were given. So the first guy got 10 and went and invested and doubled it. And on with the other guys. And then the last guy said, I was afraid of you, God, because you reap where you don't sow. And so I took my talent and hid it so I don't lose it. And the master said, you could have at least put it on the bank. And he said, I was afraid of you. You're a bad person. Now, a lot of times that we look at the story, we overlook the fact that this ruler was very benevolent. He gave what he did not have to do. He gave. And so he gave them an opportunity to gain wealth on their own. And after they did, he gave them kingdoms or dominions to rule over. Right? He gave them these dominions to rule over. You did well in this area. I'm going to give you dominion. And a dominion is also ruling over assets and people. And so he gave them these dominions to rule over after they proved themselves to be able to increase what he gave to them. But, sometimes we as Christians, we find ourselves working for organizations and we see the growth and the wealth growth in the organizations. And we say, oh, these people are making a killing or they're minting money and they're not paying me enough. And so I see them as reaping where they did not sow. Instead of saying, what is it that these people are doing that I can do the same and expand my kingdom, expand my growth? That is what this wicked servant did not do. The others took an example from their master and expanded their kingdom. Okay, so as I talk about those things and about risk and all the other stuff, I want to just give a quick point on stewardship. A lot of times when we think of stewardship, we talk about cutting so we could pay more tithes and offering. But stewardship is more than cutting. What is a steward? A steward is someone who manages the household or the estate of the person who grants it to them. So if I manage an estate, I'm a steward. I manage the resources of that estate. Well, we are always saying that we are stewards, and we talk about stewardship, and we say we are stewards, but we are stewards because we are managing the estate of Christ. The will was granted to us. You know, when you go to the hearing after somebody dies and they say, okay, this is my last will and testimony, the will was granted to us to manage the estate. And if we are managing the estate, we have to look at all of the resources that God has made available to us and utilize those resources. Stewardship is not just about cutting and sacrificing so we could pay our tithes. When you have the ability to utilize and manage resources, tithes is the smallest part to even have a thought process of. As a matter of fact, people who manage various estates, they have to pay taxes on the assets of the estate. And when it comes to writing the checks for the taxes, they have no qualms in writing the check for the taxes, because inside of that estate is enough money to pay the taxes, enough money to pay all the bills of the estate and still pay the taxes. So as stewards, we should make sure that we get to the point where we have managed the assets and the resources that God has given to us, that 10% tax on that estate feels like absolutely nothing for us to do. And so we shouldn't have to think of stewardship as, oh, I have to cut all these areas so I can pay my tithes and offering, and be worried about paying my tithes and offering because if I pay it, I may not. You know, a lot of times I go to sorts of seminars and I hear people say, you know, I had to take out my tithes and my light bill was due, and I say to God, I'm going to give my tithes, even though my light bill is due. And then all of a sudden, I got some money and I pay my light bill, and we cheer off of that. That is not how we should get to stewardship. Stewardship should be to where the tithes is so minuscule to what we are managing that we can write that check without an issue. Any other thoughts before I open this floor? I don't think I have any other thoughts on this particular section because I know we have a time constraint, but I would open the floor now for questions. Let me see if I can see if there were questions in there or comments in there. Okay, any questions?
We have a hand up.
Yes.
We'll see that hand, Sister Angela.
Okay.
Yes. I think I just want to talk about the credit card debt ratio. At one point, I had paid off my credit card and I decided I'm not going to use it. And I wasn't checking my credit score for a while. And I noticed when I don't use my credit card, um, my credit score just dropped like 20 points. It just keep going like 20 points, 15 points. And I find that when I use it, even though to me I think it's better not to use my credit card and to pay as I can afford. But when I don't use it, it's like debt ratio, the more debt you're in and how much you pay it. Some people say it's better for you not to purchase thing on credit card or not to have a credit card, but if you're not in debt and paying a monthly, that's when you have a good credit report. But when you don't use it, and be on a budget to use cash, then it goes down. I don't know what your view on that.
Um, so I can just tell you from the model that I use. I maintain 3 to 4 credit cards because that is what keeps my score up. I don't use it to buy items that I can't afford. I don't use it to buy things that, well, I don't have the money to buy it now, so I'm going to put it on credit. What I use my credit card for is to set up automatic payments on all of my light bills and phone bills and all the different bills that I have. So automatically, every month, these bills are paid from my credit cards. And then I have my credit card set that automatically every month, the balance of the credit card is paid from my checking account. So, so according to the credit bureaus, they will see that I'm using my credit card. It is getting up to a certain amount every month, but it's paying off every month. When I do that, I'm not paying any interest on the credit card. So I'm essentially using the exact amount of money I would be using to pay my bills without paying any interest because I'm paying off the complete balance of the credit card every month. And that helps you to maintain the credit score that way. Um, I saw a question in here, and the person said, can you truly be financially independent being self employed when you're essentially dependent on others for finances? Think about it, self employed persons have to work, otherwise, no money comes in. Um, and the answer to that question is a self employed person also builds wealth. Remember, wealth gives passive income. So if you're self employed, every month or every year, you're taking the money that comes in from that self employed income and you're putting it towards building wealth, building assets, building real estate, so that you will get to the point where you are truly financially independent. Um, not if today you close your self employed business, you still will have revenues from your fixed assets. Um, Case in point, throughout the course of my self employed journey, every year I would put aside money or purchase a home for rental properties. The I'm currently in Texas. I currently own 7 homes, 7 houses that are paid in full that I get passive income from. And in the country of Guyana, where some of the guys met me, I have an apartment building that houses 14 apartment units, also 2 other houses. Everything is paid in full. All of that came through self-employed income. I would have never been able to do that if I was working for someone. Will you please talk more about paying off your mortgage early? That's a whole other seminar. What assets? Okay, I'm just looking at the questions here to see if I have any to address. But in the meantime, you guys can ask some more questions.
Hi, good evening. So I just wanted to find out, what are your views on taking insurance for your credit card? So my bank actually convinced me to take insurance for my credit cards. And I find that when I pay my credit card bill at the end of the month, I wouldn't have accrued interest on the actual credit card, but I would have accrued a bill for the actual insurance. So I'm like, I'm paying my bills on time, but I'm still paying extra amount for the insurance. Do you think it's prudent to keep that insurance or should I just get rid of it?
You should get rid of insurance. If you're paying your bills, you don't need it. The insurance is only to protect the bank. It's not to protect you. What it's saying is that if at some point in time you default, the insurance will take care of paying off the balance of your on your credit card. So they're making money. They're getting your interest, and they're getting a payment that is not refundable to you for risk. And they're
Right, but
charging you interest based on their risk. So if I'm charging you an interest rate of 18% or 15%, that's the risk that I'm saying I'm taking to give you a credit card. And so you're paying interest on that based on that risk if you don't pay off the balance every month. Why then should they insure their risk when they're already compensating for their risk by giving you a high interest rate?
okay, thanks. So they're actually collecting twice.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. So in the event that I default, I don't plan to. I've never have. But let's just say for whatever extenuating circumstance and I do default, how does it work? Does the insurance take care of the loan? Like, will it pay off the loan or do I still owe the credit card company? How does that work?
The insurance is supposed to take care of the balance of the credit card at the time of the default.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I also saw someone said that wealth is circulated for them. I guess they were talking about the Jewish community. That is true in the circulation of their funds among themselves, but they also take risk because they think that they are blessed. I, as a CPA, I work with people from every single background. I have 3,000 clients that I do taxes for. I do taxes for people in the Vietnamese community, the Korean community, African American community, Caucasian community, Jewish community, Indian community. I can name them. And every one of them have something in their communities that is common to their community. For example, there is a system in the Korean community that we know on a smaller basis. We call it susu or boksan in but in their level, they have every month someone from that community puts into their hand $5,000, and they may have over 100 people putting in that. And every month somebody takes out that 5,000 times 100 and they buy a business. And their community grows that way. It calls for a lot of trust. It calls for dedication. The reason why the money circulates in the community is one of the promises they also make to the community is that if I'm putting money into this box hand or susu hand, I need income to continue. So when you start your business, you can hire me or my children or anyone else in the community so we can keep getting revenues to put in this box hand. Uh, Someone wanted the question about IRAs. IRAs is a retirement account, and that's very much suited for people who are employees, and it's for their retirement. It's just a tax-free way of saving. Even in your IRA accounts, you can determine your risk level in those IRAs accounts, and you can say, I want it to my IRA account to invest in higher risk stocks or medium risk stocks, bonds, or any of those things. But it's every activity in those accounts will be tax free. You won't pay taxes on the increase of those accounts until you withdraw. If you withdraw before you retire, you'll get a penalty. Self-employed or not, one should always strive to become financially independent. Find a model of passive income and will flow regardless if you're actively working or not. And that is true, self-employed or not. Why I focused on self-employed is because it gets you there a little faster. But a person who is employed will have to find other activities and probably will take some more time from their leisure time in the evenings and so on to come up with activities to come up with more income to become financially independent. But you can do both. It's not mutually exclusive. All right. I saw something that says deductible, but I don't know what this person was referring to. Just briefly, to answer the question about paying off your mortgage early, the way a mortgage works is every month that the mortgage is outstanding, interest is charged on the month, on the outstanding balance. So if you are able and make that arrangement with your mortgage company to pay two payments in a month, the payment that is made before the end of the month when the interest is calculated, that payment goes straight to the principal. And then the interest is calculated based on now the new outstanding principal. So your interest payments are constantly declining because you're making two payments.
Can I ask you a question about that? Um, because what I have been doing is paying more on the principal. Like with my monthly amount, I also pay
maybe 400 more on the principal
Yeah,
each month.
yeah,
But you're saying it's better to do it like um 2 payments in the month?
yeah. You could do it. You can do it 2 payments, or you can do it as you're doing, depending on the mortgage company you're dealing with. So yes, you can you can make an extra payment towards your principal. That also helps to reduce the amount that is calculated on your principal balance.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if it's a question or a statement, but I think it's a Zadia says that's not how it works in the Caribbean. How what works? And I am from the Caribbean, so enlightened.
I mean, like, sorry, go ahead.
Hello? Am I muted?
I thought, I thought somebody was going to say something. I was starting to say, yes, I'm from the Caribbean as well. And when I had loans in Jamaica, if I wanted to pay extra, there was no problem. If I paid the regular amount for the month and I wanted to put extra on it, I could put extra on it and it would go to the principal because there would be no interest to take care of. So I'm not sure exactly. That's why I'm saying I'm not sure where Zadia is, but as long as you pay 2 times in 1 month, you will not be paying interest a second time. It would
Right.
go directly to the principal.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. You can make payments towards the principal. Um, you are discouraged by some banking institutions if and they don't tell you the truth about it that you can do it. Some banking institutions will say no, or you can't. You can't make 2 payments. But if you do it, they will have to accept your payments. And when they accept the payments, the only place they could apply it to is the principal. I know some places in the Caribbean, mortgage payments are taken directly from salaries, and so um, you can't make extra payments because the mortgage payments are taken from this directly from their salaries. So it's sort of like a garnishment of the salary. I think that is done in St. Lucia, for example. They garnish the teacher's salary and pay the mortgage. So when you sign up for a mortgage and you use the fact that you're teaching for, let's say you're teaching for the government, the salary is garnished up to the amount of the mortgage payment. So that is what guarantees that they'll get their payment. In those situations, there are different ways that you will have to work around that. But I mean, mortgage is not the only way for us to, or paying the way we pay the mortgage is not the only way for us to build wealth. I mean, if I have the extra money to put towards my principal and I'm forced to not pay it, I can pay myself in an account that I can call my mortgage account. And when that accounts get large enough, I can walk into the bank and pay the principal off or down based on what I have remaining.
You, you have a hand up. Zidia, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So I guess I caused quite a stir in the chat in terms of loans and payments. So if I remember correctly, the presenter would have spoken about the interest payments or the interest being paid at the end of the month. Was that correct? Or charged at the end of the month for the loan?
The interest is calculated at the end of the month.
Okay, so I just want to qualify where I'm at. So I am in St. Kitts Nevis,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm actually a bank professional. So I actually see both sides of the banking system, which is both the customer side and the bank side.
Mm-hmm.
So when I speak based on experience.
Mm-hmm.
So for loans, interest for the customer, they would see it at the end of the month. However, interest is actually calculated daily. So in it being calculated daily, if someone were to come in and pay on their loan before the actual payment is due, that payment actually goes to both interest and principal as at the time that they come in and pay the loan. If they were to come into the bank and pay or want to pay on their principal, first of all, they have to ensure that the bank accepts principal payments. If indeed that they do accept principal payments, then they must specify at the cashier that it's a principal payment. If they do not do that, it's a different code in the banking system and it will be recorded as a regular payment. So making two payments in the month will not guarantee one will go to principal and the other will go to a regular payment. Both would actually go as a regular payment. And each time you pay, yes, the interest would be the daily factor of the interest would be depleted each time. So, in terms of paying off loans early, it matters when you pay, how you pay, and how soon you pay. Yes. Depends how much you pay, when you pay, and how you pay. So, I hope that brings some clarity.
Yeah, and that brings clarity for your system. Like I said earlier, the whole paying off your mortgage is a completely different seminar as a whole, because you have to address all the different types of mortgage loans that we do, how it's compounded, whether it's compounded daily, whether it's compounded monthly. Um, if it's a simple interest or a compound interest mortgage, we have all of those. And yes, there are some lenders that require that you specifically say that you're paying towards principal. So yeah, but in brief, I was just giving a brief example of how to get your mortgage paid off faster. That is not the seminar today, but I'm glad for the clarity in your system over where you are, that anyone who is on this chat who wants to pay off a mortgage early will have to do it that way. Make sure you tell your bank that you're paying towards your principal.
Sister Sandra.
Hello, good night. Um, my question is, um, aren't there some institutions as well that might not accept an early payment? So, like an early payoff for the mortgage.
Yes, they are. There are institutions that you have what they call an early payoff penalty. So you can pay it off, or you can make early payments, but you pay a penalty for it too.
Thank you.
Dr. Anthony.
Okay, so two things. Presently, I'm paying off a loan at a credit union. And what I do is that I wait until they put up the amount that I'm supposed to pay for the month, and I pay that amount. And it takes care of the interest and a part of the principal. And then I pay a second amount, which goes directly to the principal. And I'm doing all of this online. So, and I'm seeing where the principal decreases separately afterwards. So I think it's really done differently everywhere, because when I did speak to them and I said, can I pay it up faster? And they said, oh yes, that is totally up to you. And they said, and based on how I was paying it before, they were I was just able, because they were not watching the account like I was watching the account. So I was able to pay the interest. I saw interest growing every day, and I was watching it and paying up the interest. When they found out that I was doing that, they stopped it. They fixed it so that I would have to wait until they put the amount that I'm supposed to pay for the month at a certain date. And once I do that, I pay that amount, then I can pay extra on the principal. Another thing is that some places they discourage you from, they don't want you to pay off your mortgage fast. I remember when my parents bought their house. In 8 months after, my mother said to me, look at the mortgage, look at the bill and tell me how much we have paid off already, because my parents hated debts. And so when I told my mother that all they had been paying so far is interest, they became very concerned. They went and they sold a piece of land, and they brought the money to the bank to pay off the mortgage in less than 1 year. And they told them, you can't do it like that. And my father said, well, I'm going to let you speak to my lawyer then. And the person said, okay, never mind, we'll take it. And my parents was able to pay off for their house as fast as possible. So they really do discourage people from paying off fast. And some people may give a penalty, but they did not get a penalty at that time. So yeah, I just wanted to share that it's really different everywhere.
Well, we have to understand that that's where and how the banks make their money. They make their money through charging interest on anything that you borrow from them. So it will be in their interest to have you pay throughout the life of the mortgage, where they'll make more money. But um, that's just how they make their money. So you just have to read your mortgage document when you're signing your mortgage, because most people don't at the time. They're just so happy to get into a home that they sit down and sign, and then after is when they will find out, well, this is a stipulation in the mortgage, that's stipulated in the mortgage, and then they have questions after. Um, but it's their job to make money off of it, and it's your job to take care of your finances. I see
Lady Nancy, sorry.
Lady Nancy.
Mhm.
Hello, good evening. Um, I wanted to say a lot of Christians believe in paying off their mortgage early because, I think there are passages in the Bible, the scriptures that tells about debt, it weighs you down or whatever. But in this new society, you have to be very wise because the bank, once you are released from a mortgage, you got to tough it out with insurance companies, nobody else but you and them. Okay, when something major happens, okay, the bank has interest in your property while you have a mortgage, even if it's small. Okay, so be careful. That's all I can say. Be careful because, like for example, in California when they had the wildfires, the, they were just canceling those insurance but they had to really talk to the bank. They can cancel it if you own the property and no bank is involved. Okay, they can do that. Okay, because they're not going to pay out to several people, and they have clause in which they're not going to pay out if it's so more than certain percentage of the area is affected. So you might have to think about wiser options than fully paying off. Okay. For me, I would prefer to keep that money in the bank and invest it in higher, low risk options. And always, that's what I've done. Always thrive to refinance to a lower. Right now, I have my mortgage at 2%, And so I can always find a 4% or 5%, which will give me extra $10,000 back on that money. But keep the bank in the interest of your house. In other words, I'm getting back more money than I'm paying out in the actual what do you call it, per month. Okay, so that's just what I do. Okay, and regarding credit cards, I only use credit cards for things that I need and for money that I have, and I paid the next month. I use the points. People are like, "Oh, how come you're not employed for 2 years now? You can still go on vacation." I said, "Because I planned for it. Royal Caribbean give me the points regardless. I put my bills. If I can pay my credit card, my mortgage on a credit card, I will do so. Okay, because I'm gonna get those points regardless. Okay, and so not only Royal, almost all the banks will give you points. American Airline, they give you points. You can travel even if you're unemployed. I'm just saying. Many times you can't even cash it out for anything. Some will let you buy groceries and so, and that's what I buy my groceries with too. So be wise. Be wise, okay?
So I think we've talked about a lot of those things. Yes, and it's important that we be wise with our finances. Any other questions?
Yes, I have another question. I don't know. Are you aware of Dave Ramsey and these 7 baby steps?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about how he helps people to become millionaires?
Well, I'm not 100% sold on everything he teaches.
Mm.
As far as no credit cards, that's one of the things that I've addressed in this seminar. That I have credit cards. I have 4 credit cards. I use them every single month. I pay them off every month. And yes, the points that I get from them, I use to travel. You get points and all the other stuff from the use of credit cards. Um, and it allows me certain freedoms in terms of bill payments. When you have several properties that you have to pay things on, business locations that you have to pay light bills and phone bills and all the other stuff, you can spend days and hours of just making payments on bills that you can just set up as automatic payments through your credit card and then get the points from.
Couldn't
So
you do it
part
to the debit card as well? Couldn't you do the same with the debit card?
well, if you do with a debit card, you wouldn't get the points.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's
And
about
then
points.
it's not just about points. We also established that credit scores are based on credit cards. Your credit score is based on the amount of credit cards that are active and being paid on time. That's what your credit scores are based on.
But how positive is that? Because if you're finished paying off a debt, your
Mm-hmm.
credit cards, your credit score decreases instead of increases. Like if you give up a credit card or if you complete a debt, it doesn't like they don't encourage you to be out of debt. They encourage you to be in debt at all times because why is it that if you are finished paying off a debt, your credit score decreases rather than increases? That's not encouraging.
Well, that is why you have to manage from the credit card perspective. Um, I, um, for example, have paid off my primary residence. And of course, I don't have any car loans, but I still have a good credit score because I manage the credit cards to keep the scores going. If if you have 4 to 5 credit cards that you're paying on time you are not in default, your scores will be good. And that is not encouraging you to keep the debt, because if you were um, incurring the debt and paying it off in that same month, then you're not carrying debt per se. You're just using the money that you have in the bank to run it through your credit card.
I hear you. But if you had enough cash and didn't need to have a credit card, is that better, or are you still saying that you still need credit card? Are you just looking at the advantage of having credit cards because
I'm
of,
just looking at the advantage of having a good credit score.
oh, okay, it's credit
Advantage of
score.
having the good credit score based on the credit cards and also the points. You know, the points is important for travel for most people, but this credit score is most important for everything else. You know, your insurance company, you want to get a good insurance rate and use the best insurance companies, you have to have a good credit score.
But what about the people whose credit score is indeterminable because they have so much money? Don't have any credit score? Don't they get through very well, just the same?
Everybody has credit scores.
Dave Ramsey and his guys don't have any.
They could tell you
Indeterminable. It's indeterminable because they don't have credit cards.
that, but the ones that I know with high income and high wealth, they do, because they manage well.
In a different, oh, okay, so their credit score comes from a different avenue, not the credit cards.
They come from those same credit cards. Those same credit cards. You can't walk into you cannot walk into a car dealership and get not a car dealership, but a rental car company and rent a car without a credit card. I disagree with him on that. There's another way to do it, and that is, instead of getting rid of all your credit cards, keep your credit cards and pay them off every month.
But one is enough, right?
No, you would need three.
What?
You would need three active cards. The credit bureaus based it on the amount of active cards, and the minimum is three.
I've only ever had one credit card in all my life.
And how was your scores? Was it good?
Yeah, I always have a good credit score.
Was it because you had other loans out? You had car loans and
Well, not necessarily car loans, but
mortgage?
no, student loan.
Okay, so there are other things on your credit report that will count towards your scores. But
Okay.
if you get to the point where you're financially independent and you don't have any other loans out there, the only thing you can manage your credit score with is credit cards.
Okay. Thank you.
And then another thing
Uh,
I did to increase my credit score, I pay at least 3 days before the due date. And my credit score has gone up.
All right.
Somebody
Hey,
else has a
Crystal?
raised hand. Neil.
Yes, Dylan and Angelica.
Hey, how you guys doing? It's been a while since we've been on, but this is a very interesting subject that you guys are having today. And we were listening in. Excuse me. I worked in the credit card industry for about maybe 40 years. No, 30, about 35 years.
Mhm.
And I'm realizing by listening to this conversation, in different locations, there are different rules. There are different laws that may apply. So if one person may be in the Caribbean and you know your credit cards are ran a different way as opposed to a person in the States or in anywhere. So they have here in the States, which is called FDCPA, which means that's what governs how credit cards being ran and used in this, here in the U.S. Also, as opposed to banks and credit unions, one would lean towards a credit union because banks primarily they don't really pay a lot of interest. But if you have access to a credit union, uh, you will benefit a lot more. That's all I thought I would go ahead and add.
Yeah. And who was the other person who had their hands up? Who was the other person? You mentioned two people.
I think that's all the hands we have for now.
Okay.
I don't see any.
Yeah, and that is true. Credit cards in the Caribbean do operate a little different from in the States. Um, I know for a fact because I have credit cards in Guyana and credit cards in the US. And sometimes you would find them behaving quite different. You go to, um, last week I was in Brazil trying to make a purchase with my US credit card at a perfume shop, and they would not accept it. And I used my credit card from Republic Bank, and bingo, it went through. So yeah, they do operate differently in many ways.
We have another question in the chat.
Okay.
I think she had posted it earlier. I guess it got. In real estate, how do you safeguard yourself from tenants who do not pay on time and they owe you for a few months?
One of the things that you have to do is screening of your tenants before you get them in. For example, as a habit, what I do is a tenant must make 3 times their monthly rent. That's one of the minimum things, so that you know that the person is not overextending themselves with the rent. If they can't make 3 times the monthly rent, that's one of the flags. Of course, their credit scores, how they pay other creditors is also important. And have they been evicted um, or any other tenant issues that they may have. You have to do a lot of screening. That in itself is not 100% guarantee, but um, it's from state to state, from country to country. You have different ways of being able to manage that part. The eviction process, in Texas, the eviction process is very simple. They default on 30 days and you take them to court and evict them. In New York, it's different, and other places are different. But if they're not paying, they get evicted. Well, yeah. And I see someone says the security deposit. Yeah, that security deposit goes towards paying off any damage, requiring renters to have renters insurance. There's a whole lot of things that you do in terms of managing the rental process so as to mitigate any losses. Yeah, and There's no credit bureau in the Caribbean, so there's no credit score. So as far as paying or maintaining credit cards for credit scores, it's different in the US than in the Caribbean. And real estate, this person is saying they would never do real estate because they don't want to deal with tenants. You can have investments in real estate without having your actual real estate property. There are real estate trusts that you can invest in where other people are managing the actual real estate property. It doesn't even necessarily have to be single family or apartments. There are people, some of these real estate trusts have big corporate buildings that are included in the trust, that revenues are obtained through that. Another thing is in real estate, you can have a management company manage your real estate for you, and you will not be the hands-on person doing it, so you still get revenues from it.
You have another hand up, Lady Nancy.
Oh, by the way, I've known someone to flip their house 4 times, and that's how they became a millionaire. And that's the female. Okay, so you can stay in the house. For example, I see a house around the corner is 175, and all the houses around here is 400 and up. And I just buy that house, move into it, fix it up while it's living it, sell it again, you move on. Okay, so you don't have to, you can be your own tenant. I mean, in a kind of way. So,
There are many ways in which you can get wealth through real estate. Flipping homes, uh, and all of those things are things that we have done in the past.
Brother Hardy, do you do your own investment or do you allow others to do it for you?
I do my own investment. Apart from being a CPA, I'm a real estate broker. So I broker my own investments.
And do you invest for others as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I have to replace my financial advisor. I'll consider
Which state are you in?
Maryland.
Okay.
So what states do your license allow you to invest for, Brother Hardy?
Texas. My in real estate is Texas only. My brokerage is Texas only.
Okay.
But I do advising outside of Texas, which is
Okay.
financial advising outside of Texas.
Mm.
And in Texas, we have what they call is it's a agreement between brokers of different states. You refer somebody, they pay you, and vice versa. So I have real brokers in other states. Maryland is one of those.
Alrighty, a little question here. Um, so if I have some money and want to do some investing, what do you suggest?
It depends on the amount. Give me a ballpark that you would think that you have.
All right, let me just say $1,000.
I didn't hear it. You broke up.
Let me just say about like $50,000.
That probably will work good with a real estate trust, where the real estate trust is where a number of people are coming together to invest in real estate, but they're not outright owning one real estate asset. What is the thing is, we started out this seminar is talk about what are you gifted in, to take that gift and make it into an income generating business. What is your gifts? What is your line of work actually? Hello?
All right. That's for me. I was just giving an example, but I'm a teacher.
Okay, you're a teacher. Good. And um, as a teacher, you can use those gifts in also starting. Let's say, for example, you wanted to start a daycare. That's a business you can start. 50,000 is enough to start a daycare business.
Okay, thanks. But you have to like to take care of those children
But
into
you
that.
don't a lot of times people see businesses that they are doing the work. When you invest in certain business activities, you're not necessarily the one doing the work. For example, if I decided to invest in the daycare, I would only be the administrator who look at the books. I will never go into the classrooms. I will hire people to go into the classrooms to do it. So there's, and I'm not saying that that's what you should do. I'm just saying that how things should work when we're looking in terms of doing a business. We don't necessarily have to do the business. If I want to invest in, let's say, a McDonald's, I wouldn't be in the McDonald's cooking. I will hire a manager to run it. And over time, I had invested in many things, and not every time you invest in something, you will like it and want to stay in it. For example, there was one time I invested in the 18-wheeler trucks. So I bought 5 18-wheeler trucks. I don't have a CDL license for sure, so I know I can't drive them, and I put them on the road with drivers, and I ran it for I think a year or two, and then I sold all the trucks and take all the money out and um, went and built a house in Guyana. So um, I didn't like the fact that I had to get up early in the morning, and I didn't. Well, not early in the morning, but probably like midnight when my drivers will call me and say, "We are out of fuel," or "We have a breakdown and we need a wrecker," and things like that. And most of the drivers like to drive at night because they save on fuel when they're driving at night. The less heat and everything. So there was um, I may have a long day with doing taxes. So I sold it and went ahead. So sometimes you can test the waters in certain things and then pull out, but you make sure you pull out with a profit. What are the possible investments for doctors? I have a lot of clients who are doctors, and a lot of them do real estate. I have one who invested in a pain management clinic, not running it himself, but he has a PA that runs the pain management clinic while he works at the, I think he's a thoracic surgeon, and he's also into real estate. There are some unlikely investments that you may, come across, people come across, and you think, oh, um, why would a CPA be doing trucking? Well, I saw my clients coming in with 1099s for over $1 million that they run 2 or 3 trucks a year. So I said, let me take a swipe at it, and that's what I did.
So if you're just starting out, what is the lowest you could start with to invest in real estate?
If you're
not owning your own house, just investing in it.
what are they? I didn't get the question.
No, I said, if you're just starting out, and you want to invest in real estate, not that you don't want to own a house, you just want to invest in real estate, what is the lowest that you can start with?
If you're going into invest in real estate trust, you probably, the lowest you probably could get in there is about $5,000, but that's in real estate trust.
Oh, okay.
Not owning your own piece of real estate. And you know what? Some people actually buy land, which you can get different places for around those prices, and buy the land and hold it. And then within some years, the value go up.
And then they sell it?
Yeah, they sell it.
Oh, okay. That sounds smart. Real estate always appreciates?
Yeah, I have seldom seen real estate decline. And it was only, I think, in my lifetime once, and it was during the mortgage crisis. It was a mortgage crisis that was created by, I would say, greedy real estate agents and bankers.
Yes, I remember that.
And during that time, even during the mortgage crisis, people made money because there were a lot of depressed properties, properties that were foreclosed on, that people were able to buy up and wait for the market to go up. As a matter of fact, during that time, I bought one property that I was able to buy it cash for $50,000. But that was the outstanding mortgage that they went belly up on. And the property is now worth $200,000, but I'm not selling it because I'm getting rent of $2,000 a month on that property. So within a very short space of time, that $50,000 that I put out to buy that property was recovered. And so it's all passive income right now. So I'm saying that even when there is a drop in real estate, and it's seldom, you will still be able to make money there.
Awesome. If we have no more questions at this time, we're going to go into our closing activities.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Looks like Ronmel, go ahead.
Hello, good night. Well, a friend invited me to this chat. Yeah. So basically, I I am sort of inherit of some lands and so forth, right? In my country, but usually I'm not there all the time, and I've been having like difficulties to set up myself in such a way that when I'm not home, perhaps I could be getting some type of income, whether it's rent, um, keeping the farm up and so forth. But I guess what I don't have is like the income, the capital to like pay folks to, probably look over the farm, develop the farm, and then based on the location of the house, it's kind of difficult to get it rented. So I was looking for some ideas, perhaps.
Well, first thing you should find out if there's a management company in that country or
Okay.
that can manage real estate in that company, and find out from
Okay.
them what it will take for them to manage that property for you.
Okay.
Once you find that, then you should be able to proceed. They can also advise you on what type of capital you will need to get the property up to scratch so that it can be rented or utilized. And then if the property is paid in full and you don't have the capital to develop it, I'm sure you can take out a mortgage on the property and um, do what it's needed to develop the property and gain some revenue from it.
Okay. Okay. And the farm?
The same thing with a farm. The
Okay.
person can find out what it will take to manage it and how
Okay.
will capital will take to get the farm to a producing farm.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Brother Artie, for pouring into us with such wisdom, clarity, and conviction. Your message on building wealth with purpose and integrity reminded us that true success isn't just about gaining more, it's about becoming more. You challenge us to elevate our mindset, align our decisions with our values, and steward every blessing with intention. We're grateful for the inspiration, the practical tools, and the heart behind every word. Thank you for leading by example in showing us that wealth built God's way is not only possible, but powerful. We appreciate you and we pray for your influence to continue to multiply with grace and purpose. Thank you so very much for being patient in answering every question. And I'm sure here that every member has been blessed tonight, and especially those who are looking for ways to create wealth and build more have been inspired. If you have been blessed, could you please write the word blessed in the chat? At this time, we haven't learned so much, or you might have been reminded of some things, or something has been ignited in you. I would like us to take some time to pray about this and to pray a few prayers first for Brother Artie, his ministry, his businesses, and then we'll go into praying about some of what he highlighted tonight. Thank you so much again. Let us pray. Father God, we magnify your name. We give you the highest honor tonight and thank you for all that you have done. You have poured out your blessings in abundance on us, and despite all that is happening in the world, we still acknowledge you as King of our life. You are sovereign and you are taking care of your people. truly, Lord, you have stood up to every word when you said that you will supply all of our need according to your riches in glory. Lord, you said that the righteous will not forsaken, or your seed will not be seen begging bread. And you have stood up to your word. And Lord, we thank you so very much for taking care of our needs. We thank you for this ministry. And Lord, we thank you that you have been providing for us using your servants, different ones, to enlighten us and to provide us with the necessary information that we need to grow. Tonight was no exception. You have used your servant, Brother Hardy, to bless us, Lord. And through his leadership, so much information was shared here so that we can be reminded, and also we were inspired from his presentation about creating wealth, building wealth. Most of us here tonight are single individuals, and we want to be able to support your cause and also to help others. And Lord, we thank you for what you have given to us through your servant. Now, Father God, I'm asking that you who pours out favor upon your people, that you continue to favor your son with every blessing that he needs. I ask that you will touch him from the crown of his head to the sole of his feet, that you give him a fresh anointing from the Holy Spirit tonight. You knew him before he was conceived, and there is nothing that is hidden from you concerning him. And so, God, you know what his needs are, you know his desires, you know the plans that he has before you, and you also have plans for him. I pray, Lord, that you will continue to establish his plans, that he will continue to put you first and always in all things, that he will continue to seek you first. I ask that you, Lord, will continue to carve out the time that he places to spend with you daily, that he will grow even closer to you. And that, Lord, you'll continue to give him the desire to serve in your vineyard, and that through his influence, others will be drawn to you and surrender their lives to you. Lord, you see his businesses. We pray that you will continue to bless them. Sister Lorian spoke of how she was blessed by his businesses, and we ask that others will be able to be blessed by what he is doing. And so, Lord, I ask that you will continue to protect him, to guide him, to lead him. Thank you for all that you have done here tonight.